Welcome to TimeBolt Office Hours. It is July 27, 2023. You are live with Doug, and soon my partner Quinston will join us. I'm here to answer any questions, check your workflows, and generally just make sure that you get the most out of TimeBolt. We do have the update of the B key today, which is just striking B. You're able to remove the previous section. It stands for back. Okay, and it allows you, when you're previewing the footage, you don't have to stop inside TimeBolt. You can just hit the back key, and the previous segment that you already previewed can be cut. So any repeats, mistakes like that, as you're scrolling through, you just hit B and it cuts back. So it's a small feature update, but a huge benefit for editing on the timeline. Oliver, notice that you're on. Is there anything that I can help you with? Do you have any workflows you can discuss? Introduce yourself.
No, I just used it for the first time yesterday, and it was very helpful. So I cut one video already, and I'm just kind of curious to find out more. What else can I do with the tool? I think the one thing I was still interested in learning is how to use those transitions. Specifically, I was looking for like pop in, pop out transitions. I don't think that's in there. One of those favorite YouTube features where you pop in, pop out to kind of hide some mistakes, which is good. And I was kind of looking for that. It didn't have that, which is fine. So I continued to do that. But again, just to learn more about the product and what have you. And then I also wanted to find out, are there any plans in the work to remove things like, and other type of, words and mistakes and to kind of avoid gap fillers maybe automatically.
So you're looking for the punch feature and what we call Umcheck. Right. Yeah. Just so I can get, because I'm responsible for basically setting up and making sure that we get the workflows and what's capable to you. Can you explain to me the type of videos that you make, how you found TimeBolt? Were you watching a video of it on YouTube? How deep were you able to make it in the website? Because I'll be able to show you all this, and I'll be able to take you through this workflow happily.
So I found you guys through some YouTube videos out there, right? I was looking for how can I use AI to help me cut my videos faster. And the type of videos I'm doing, they're mostly workshops, educational. So it's not really YouTube per se, but it's more like for the enterprise level and the leadership courses and things like that. And sometimes conversations, discussions with C-suite executives, and we just talk and we record ourselves, and we need to have basically a dual speaker AI cut, so to speak. But then my process really is, once this is done right now with your software, and it was really helpful, and it cut out about at least an hour of my workflow for like a 3-minute video, which was, and so I put that quickly into my video cutting software. But then I'm really setting markers for stock footage inserts also, right? So it doesn't get too boring for the viewers just to view me. I put stock footage in there also, and that's basically
setting markers. You're setting markers so inside. Are you in Premiere? Or what editing program do you use?
Final Cut Pro.
Are you setting markers in Final Cut Pro, or are you doing that inside TimeBolt?
No, I'm doing that in Final Cut Pro. I did not know you can do this in TimeBolt.
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity to kind of review. And what I'm doing right now, what I'm in the process of doing, is coming up with a YouTube workflow that would go through these features as part of a workflow, so that exactly what features would be most applicable to you. Now, what I'm going to do here, the first thing that you've done is basically you're going to make sure that you get your automations done first. Okay, that way when you go and cut up the timeline, it's not messing with automations that you already have set up. So the first automation that we have is obviously the removal of dead air. Keep this anywhere between -30 to -42 dB. Okay. And what I think is really important for people to know, even if you've been using this for a while, I'll see affiliates making videos, and you see like a really example of a low quality audio. Okay. You see how bad this audio is right here? Like you can't even see it. Do you have any of these problems? Like, is your audio coming in? Do you see like perfectly defined audio waveforms, or is it more like this?
No, for me, it's perfectly. I've got a boom mic here, and I've got one of these Sony things I put under my shirt also, so the camera syncs so nicely. So I usually sync my audio, I record my audio separately. Actually, I use GarageBand just to record the audio. I have a separate compressor, like a PreSonus compressor and what have you, and a preamp mic, and I bring it together and I sync it within Logic Pro. I just right click on the audio video and sync it that way, right? It's pretty perfect by the time I'm already uploading it into Logic Pro.
Okay, then that makes sense. If you do run into a situation like this, if you record some different way, just know to get to a better waveform, you're going to click these 3 icons, and you're going to have to this is the one thing that you have to restart the app for. Okay, but it's going to be, so you have to restart the app. You'll see I'll put this back in, and
I see.
Right, it gives you the defined audio waveforms, which makes the detections easier and easier to edit by hand. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the original, and I'm sorry, let me go ahead and turn these off. So what happens is that when you restart the app and you do these audio normalization, it increases the volume, but it will actually, when you listen to it back, it'll sound hollow, but it's not going to affect the output of the quality itself. Okay, it'll maintain the same quality. So turning those on doesn't hurt that. Yes, some key questions, and it's actually what TimeBolt's bread and butter is, besides cutting dead air. First thing that we're going to do Okay, we've got our silence detection settings right. Audio's coming in good. We're good there. We got this at 0.5, and these are my typical settings. First thing we're going to do is run Umcheck. Umcheck is this icon right here.
Oh, okay.
And I'd hit start audio transcription. Now, this is an hour-long Zoom, okay? It's going to take 3 to 4 minutes, okay, to get all that information back, okay? And it'll send it up. It'll rip off an audio-only WMV file. It'll send it up to our server. We'll get transcribed, and those transcription instructions, very precise. That's why they cost money. They're not something we can get for free. They're on a word-level basis. The cut list gets sent back. It really helps with the accuracy of Umcheck when you do things like and so, like, you would be really surprised when it comes to filler words, how uniform they end up becoming and how we each have our own way of filling in time. The word choice combinations, those get detected very simply, accurately, and basically get cut off the front and the end of statements.
Do you guys have this separate transcription service that then provides captions?
No, we do not do captions yet. Captions, getting into captions and doing those types of things, the goal of TimeBolt is to be able to get in and get out as quick as possible. Yep. Once we start complicating things like that, we really have to make sure that we've got our UI and stuff in place, and we just don't want to make this so complicated it becomes another editor to use.
Right.
What it'll do is it'll automatically open up. You'll get your first 3 for free. It basically, this is where you would pay. It's 50 cents for every 10 minutes, but you'll get your first 3 for free. See if you like the service. Once we know how many ums and ahs that you say, and we know the length of the file, and we know the word count, we could start getting into like, what's your words per minute? Because we also have a turbo feature that allows you just to increase your rate of speech by 1.125x, which we found is kind of like a really good, after you cut the dead air and you get rid of the stuff you don't like, just boosting your rate of speech really, really helps. You basically go from speaking at 170 words per minute normal, okay, with dead air included, to removing dead air, you're at about 210. And then once you increase by 1.125x, you're basically at a 233 words per minute when your brain can comfortably handle 250. There it is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what you may find is the key with Umcheck, like when I say Umcheck, it actually cuts out the when I say the check. Okay, I have to go in and like, who's the idiot that named it the product check when I can't even talk about the product without it being cut out? If it's not caught by with our detect silences shorter than, sometimes those get kept in, and that is purely the result of how accurate the transcriptions are. We go with the most accurate transcriptions known out there, right? That's why it costs money. They like gives individual timestamps. It's not like it's a paragraph or like a sentence, right? People will be like, well, I can get transcriptions for free. Well, those transcriptions are typically not accurate. Okay, not typically, they are not accurate down to a word level. So all this all just gets automatically cut out. I hit split timeline, turn off the words, and that's what it did. It cut it. What I like to do sometimes when you're first in here, just do like a flip timeline, and what that does, it just shows you the reverse of what you're removing. And right? So you don't. Okay, so that's your filler word removal. That's one of the questions that you asked. Now you can see, now that this is cut up, now after your automation work's done, now's a good time to go back and do your editing of the timeline. First thing you do is drop this down, put it at 1.15x speed. Original channel. So that when you hit the space bar, channel, see that you're also it automatically defaults to playing at 1.5x. You'll easily be able to edit like this. Okay, you are going to be able to edit this timeline by doing these tricks faster than you can possibly can in any Final Cut or Adobe Premiere. Okay, no matter how long you've been editing for in that system. Remember the keys: SLOP BMx. Okay, for lack of a better acronym. Okay. SLOP BMx. S splits the timeline.
Okay. All right, we're good. Awesome. Excellent. Good. If
I click S where the playhead is, see how it made a little mark right there?
Been learning a little bit about you. You're
pretty here. I hit S. Now what I do is I could then go back and do this, okay? Or where my cursor is right here, this is where I hit the B key, okay? And that cuts the previous frame that you just watched. That just cuts. So imagine you're listening to this.
Internet. I found your original channel, your personal channel. See that you're also an
and you're like, I don't like what I just heard.
For professional
I just hit B.
C.
I just hit B, and I never have to stop the playhead. It just cuts the previous green section. So if you have a repeat or mistake or something like that, just hit the B key, and it automatically cuts behind. That's S L.
Like extraordinary. As you're going
through. L increases the speed of the playhead. You hit it multiple times. Okay. The second biggest key, or the third biggest key, is O. SLOP. SL and O does off. It turns the scene off. So as I'm going through,
but that's interesting. And I'm excited. Then I guess
I can easily shut off large swaths of content that way. Okay. SLO. So that turns on and off. And then P is this other function. P is where you do your punch work. Hit P. Okay. I can now use Alt or Option and my arrow keys and I can move around the.
Let's do his job.
Tell him to go play on the beach, or so you could live in San Martin.
Well, no, that's not.
See how it skips right there?
Tell him to go play on the beach, or so you could live in San Martin.
Well, no, that's not from originally, but I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida. Okay, yeah, there you go. There's a beach. You're never too far away from the beach. Smart man.
So that's where you can do, you can not only zoom in and punch in, but you can also maneuver around. Okay. Now, if you're have a talking head, if you're in a talking head video, 125, 150, 175 may cut your head off. Right. What you want to do is in the settings section, you can put your you can do custom punch values. So I might do like 108 and like 110, 120. So now when I'm going through,
I actually watched your GoPro black review.
I can much less pronounced, and I can also center them up. You can also do that with this right here. I'm just teaching these keys because you'll just never go back once you got these keys. And then these are also punch values as well, right? So now you've got an Umcheck taken care of. You're removing your filler words.
How did you get to the menu again? The pop-up you just had?
I right clicked.
I see. Okay.
I right click, but the things I'm telling you right now with the keys, you won't even need this.
Right.
It's because you'll be editing so fast. You'll just be like, it won't make sense to take your hands off a keyboard or anything. So that's SLOP. And now we did the B key, which removed the back, right? So if I hit B, it's going to remove the one previous. See it? Watch. Boom. See that?
Mm-hmm.
There's the beach. You're never too far away from the beach. Smart man.
I don't like what I just heard.
I actually watched.
That's a fantastic key. Now the M key is your markers, YouTube chapters and stuff like that. I know that you had.
Not me. I just use markers for my own, for editing purposes only, and just to where I know I need to put stock footage in. So I kind of overlay stock footage that way.
On your first pass, as you're editing this, then that's going to make this real simple. Just click M, right, and that puts a marker right where you're going to where you need a marker or wherever you want to put. So you can be going through, punching in, adding your markers, so that you don't ever have to watch this again. Okay. Like it's for editing for time. You can put a marker right here. But when you're using Final Cut Pro, when you export this, right? When you export this, it'll actually export little markers. I'm looking for wow. So markers do not export to Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
The punch-in values do. Okay, the punch-in values do export to Final Cut Pro, but markers do not export to Final Cut Pro. Yeah, so I guess the markers do not export to Final Cut Pro, but your punch values, Umcheck, all that other stuff do as well. So Oliver, that's what I've got for you.
Appreciate it. It was very helpful.
Okay, and then transitions. Now the transitions, if you're exporting to Final Cut Pro, which you had, transitions also do not export. Transitions are entirely if you're going to do this render inside TimeBolt.
All right, thank you so much.
Excellent. Thanks for jumping on, Oliver. So Nicholas, how you doing, man?
Lost my mouse. Doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm checking with Quinston. I think he's stuck in traffic. Like questions like that. I know YouTubers, they all have very similar workflow patterns. And I just got done with Zoom. There are very specific features that run in TimeBolt that we just need to kind of get out there and market our workflow pillars. And when we're pulling people into the website, making sure we're getting, whether they're gaming or YouTubers or there to do Zoom or capture, right? This is how you do TimeBolt for your specific workflow right out the outset. That way there's a lot of, he didn't know that there was Umcheck. He didn't know that it did the punch. So there's some challenges.
For people that are looking for the quick and dirty, get me in and out process, I feel like TimeBolt and CapCut could work very well together.
Yeah.
I'm sitting down to do major edits, like the video that we're talking about. I'm going to go into Premiere Pro to have the more horsepower behind it. But if it's something where I just want to quickly throw something together, it's always CapCut.
And that's another kind of workflow question, because you've got like end level software that you're exporting to, like you have export options, but is CapCut really a workflow, right? Or is CapCut typically, a lot of this would get posted as shorts to YouTube? Is it part of the YouTube? And then do you make it kind of like a social part of the workflow? Because with CapCut, it's all about how can we export to that software program, and can we export the options? And it doesn't look like, unless they have some proprietary way that they're saving, it looks like the only way that we're going to be able to get content into CapCut is by rendering clips. Like that's the best possible.
I did that this past week on one of the videos I created. I ran everything through TimeBolt and then exported all the clips and pulled those in, and it actually worked. I got done. I initially exported out just like straight out of TimeBolt what I had, brought in the entire clip, and then I was like, shit, want to punch in, or not even punch in, but like I had transitions and B-roll stuff that I wanted to add in after the fact, and like do all the stuff that like I'm gonna have to split this thing up anyway. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna start over, go all clips, and when I pasted in all the clips, everything was in the correct order, but I was able to start jumping in and playing with it immediately versus going through the whole process of chopping it up after I'd already done that in time. That's definitely, it sucks having all the different files in there just because there's a ton, But from a workflow perspective, it was way easier to be able to not have to worry about it.
And did they just drop in for you? Okay.
Literally, it exported everything out, and then I just click and drag them from my desktop into. So these were all the clips, and then these were all the ones that I had added in after the fact for all my B-roll types.
How long was the original clip?
I want to say the original was probably about 3 to 4 minutes, right around there.
Nice.
With this, so it ended up being 1 minute and 4. With shorts, they only take 60 seconds, and I wanted to put this on shorts. So I ran it back through, after I exported everything out, I ran it back through TimeBolt again with the turbo mode to set it to 1 minute, and then publish that, and it actually did pretty well on the platform.
Nice. So you use the time constraint for,
and I was like, hell, 4 seconds, like you're not even going to notice 4 seconds getting shaved off of that.
So you imported the clips into this. It was a little bit longer, right? You didn't want to lose. It was all important information. After you got the final done in CapCut, you rendered, and then you just put it back into TimeBolt to add that to compress it down to a specific time frame, the 60 seconds. And that worked out good, and the platform accepted the duration, all that.
Yep. I actually dialed it back just a little bit because I wasn't sure if it was going to export at exactly 60 seconds and if that was going to throw an issue. So I put it at like 59.5 seconds just to give myself a half-second leeway. And I didn't have a problem with it. But I used that in the past because there's been so many times where I've had videos that have been like on the brink there, and I'm thinking like, okay, what can I pull out of this to make it fit this platform now? And like just being able to pop it in and export out a new duration was. I'm
wondering if we do need a workflow like called social. I just keep kind of bouncing around because there are specific things like turbo that unless that's possible, how am I supposed to communicate that?
And like the reasoning behind it, that I think is the big thing, because I never really conceptualize why would I need that. Okay, I can talk faster. I already kind of talk a little bit slower of a pace, but so okay, I can speed that up, but is it that big of a deal? And that's why I never used it, to be honest. In a real world example, like I created this video that's perfect for TikTok, so I can upload up to 10 minutes. Instagram Reels, I can only do 90 seconds. Shorts, I can only do 60 seconds. Figuring out what information is the least important, not even what's not useful, but what's the least important, so that I can shrink it down to a short. And then I end up in the dilemma, do I post that 60-second to TikTok and Instagram as well, or do I leave the longer version for TikTok and now I got 3 different versions of the same video out there? Or like that to me was like the aha moment, like this is where turbo mode kind of comes in play, to publish this across all platforms, and now I have eliminate information but still.
Would it have been helpful prior to adding it into CapCut to have been able to apply that turbo mode to the individual clips, so that, or was it only something you recognized after? Because that's something we can't do right now. Like we can't bake in turbo mode into the clips itself.
I didn't even think about it until after I'd done it. I was like, I wonder if I would have added a couple extra.
Yeah, and plus with shorts and stuff, it's not like you're looking for like the pristinest audio quality. You're talking about 60, 90 seconds of time.
Hell, with the shorts, they either get a couple hundred or a couple thousand views. How much extra time do I want to spend on just shorts?
Just shorts. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think Winston is joining us here.
Heard you talk about the different workflows and things like that. Like I was thinking about that, having like a specific social media workflow as well, just for that aspect, because the main reason I use CapCut is for the captions itself, like having the freedom to do what I want there. Whereas a YouTube video, I'm just going to rely on, not going to go through the trouble making sure every single word matches up now.
Yeah.
So much other stuff on my plate to worry about. The social aspect, consume a lot of the TikTok videos and all that stuff with the volume. I read those So that's why I spend more time per short form content, getting the captions right and making them pretty, versus like the long form YouTube stuff.
And you're not making long format content and then turning it into, then using short form as kind of like a byproduct. You're like making short 5-minute videos for short form.
I'm doing both. Now that we started that YouTube channel, with TimeBolt markered out 3 different clips, but then I still brought them back into CapCut again so I could add the caption. But I pretty much took exactly what came out of it. Yes, I will actually board content with the sole intention, something like TikTok.
And did you use the clips method? Do you like it? Like the clips?
I was telling him I initially pulled in the entire export from TimeBolt, and then I was like, shit, I'm gonna have to clip all these out for some of the stuff that I want to add in here. So I re-exported out all the clips and just pulled them in, and then I was able to just highlight everything.
So when you pulled it in, did it just like line up as per the correct order, or you had to mess around with the order?
I didn't mess around with the order at all. The one thing I didn't test it, when you drag them all in, everything's already highlighted. I drag them in from my Explorer, everything's highlighted. I just literally dragged it back down in the timeline. And I didn't click off of it.
Oh,
and reselect everything and then drag them in. That might mess it up. I don't know. But
okay.
I think the fact that
bulk imported, like you selected them all and you were just like, I hope it just goes in order. And
basically, as I was doing, I was like, oh boy, here we go. And then it lined up. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's Winston for you, man. Make sure that's great. And then what's also, how you doing, Winston? Good to see you, bro.
I went to see a movie and I got stuck in traffic.
Got some bad traffic, huh?
Dude, Bangalore.
Go watch Barbie movie?
Oh, dude, I went with the girl. Watching Barbie.
Oh my God,
I was just joking.
That's true. Don't put this in the video.
This is going on social media 100%.
No.
Yeah, this is part of the shorts. You need to go drink a few shots of whiskey. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Take it back. Dude, that's funny. What he also did, Quinston, is that, as you can see how his timeline's about a minute 5 or a minute and 5 seconds right here, and he was limited to a minute on the timeline. He actually exported this finished video inside CapCut and then threw it back in TimeBolt and used Turbo to put it down to 59.95 seconds. Right.
Oh shit.
So that now he didn't have to lose any important stuff. He was able to make.
But did it produce like acceptable quality? Like, was the quality okay? That
Yeah.
you weren't.
But
Nice.
when I exported it out of here, I actually exported it in 4K quality.
Oh,
You can
okay.
export 4K, 2K, 1080. So I exported out of like the highest quality I could, threw it back into TimeBolt, and then after I got it down to 60 seconds, so it would fit in the short, I just uploaded that directly.
Nice.
It turned out well. It was not noticeable to any other piece of content that I have on there. The quality was exact.
Pretty awesome. I never thought of that. Like re-putting it back into TimeBolt.
And I will say we mentioned this previously. There was the auto captions when they populated. Because I wasn't the one going in and splitting up the clips, the captions went across this video way smoother. Like,
Oh
when I
yeah.
chopped them all up.
Oh.
It went way better than if I were to go manually chop up an actual 3-minute video and delete out sections and apply it.
It's actually a great insight because I think that's a big problem, right? When you are manually trying to put captions and cut them out, like if the clip is already cut out, and because then the captions know where to switch.
That was a huge problem with inside CapCut, because I typically, when I'll edit it, I don't like having multiple lines in my captions. CapCut will usually go about 2, sometimes 3 lines. So I actually have to come in here and break it up into separate lines. And it doesn't always have to drag that out. And I'm tweaking every single caption along the way. And because it was clips, yeah, it applied to that.
Yeah, no, that's a great insight. Quinton, did you get a chance to take a look at how this is saved, like the file format?
The CapCut is banned in India. Because TikTok is banned in India, so I can't download this app.
Well,
That's
I
kinda
think this is a
weird.
good workful. I think it's a good workflow. I think this makes sense to me, and especially if your objective is to add captions. You want the best format that makes that also the least amount of time possible. And I had always known when I used, remember we had that conversation, clip scribe, how I believe that when you cut up your timeline, when remove the dead air, like it just makes these caption services so much more reliable and accurate, because you're not adding seconds here and taking it, like that has its own issues.
So CapCut does this for free, right? So, and ClipScribe costs money. So is there a feature in ClipScribe that CapCut doesn't have that is why it's premium?
No, I'll be using CapCut.
So ClipScribe basically is a CapCut that's for free.
Well, ClipScribe, I don't know about why I use ClipScribe is it'll make it 16:9. It'll do the different social sizes and basically determine where you want your, but like it'll put.
You can do that
bars
here
up
too,
on
right?
the
In
bottom.
CapCut, the ratios are there.
Okay. Yeah.
Why would you use ClipScribe if you can do it for free in CapCut? Yeah.
And honestly, I am subscribed to the premium. The only thing that I get out of the premium are the animations. Like, you have a slew of, but the premium.
But these are free on the app, right? The mobile app. I think animations are
think
free on the
there's-
mobile app.
Yeah, there's still some, like some of these are.
Can you
free.
apply those things to video clips, or it's just for like text?
They have their own set of animations.
It's hard to. I don't. Your mic. Your mic comes in so soft on.
Yeah, there's different
Perfect.
actual clips. Like the clip animations and then the text animations are completely different. You have all these different animations that you can apply, and then if you want, there's actually transitions instead. So you could do like a clip transition instead of just a straight up animation. Usually the animations I'll apply to like stuff coming up on the screen. Like you'll see when this thing comes up, that was an animation. It kind of brought it into the screen. If I'm actually transitioning between the clips, that's where I'll use the transitions specifically pick out something. Absurd amount of free ones, but then even more pro versions.
Did the punch feature work for you? Was it applicable or in TimeBolt?
Don't think I used it on this clip specifically. And part of the reason I was trying something different with my angle and everything.
Mhm.
But that is something I probably could have saved myself a lot of time, because I did go back through and I was coming in and readjusting all of these, as you can see. But I was having to
that's what I
manually
didn't
go
know.
do all of those. Did you say that the punch-in, if you export clips, does that punch-in apply to the clips themselves? That
Yes.
would work? Okay, cool. So yeah, I definitely could have saved myself some time there then.
Quinton, here, let me check. Jared.
Yeah. Hello.
Notice you joined us. How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
Good. Could you give me a little bit of background about how you found TimeBolt and what type of content you make?
Yeah. So I do gaming content. I use TimeBolt for cut commentaries. So when I record, I have like 10 to 20 hours of footage. Just point TimeBolt at my microphone audio layer, and it rips through that first cut and saves me like 75% of the work on that first cut, which is awesome. So how did I find it? I think I was just Googling around, and there were a couple other options, but like this is the only one that actually worked for me. I work with multi-track audio, and for some reason the other ones don't like it. This one actually works with it. So I don't know if that's just how you guys coded it or whatever else, but I actually popped in today to ask about, I always had the same bug. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's how I'm doing it. I don't know how best to explain this. Basically, I've already created the TimeBolt for this mic layer right here. So I want to cut around it because whenever I'm talking is the most important stuff in these recordings. If I were to, usually what I do is I delete that and I actually have like my other microphone in here. This kind of messes with it, I think, because when you run the TimeBolt, it selects one of the clips and like re-imports it and then chops it all up, from my understandanding. So what I did was I had like a...
Where's your main video file?
That's exactly what I was doing. We talked about last week. I
video file?
pre-edited the audio file and then tried to
you don't
edit.
have, correct. So you shouldn't. So can you just like delete this part and just drag and drop the original files back in?
So this is the first one.
Okay.
And then this is the mic audio.
No, put it at the bottom now.
At the bottom?
Put it, because that's also like in the same timeline, right?
Yes. These are this
so
and this.
Now you don't change anything. Don't change anything and just apply the timeline. Now you just select the clip first.
Video clip like that?
Yeah, perfect. Now you can apply it.
If I did recording
whatever JSON you have. Yeah. So what happens is when you apply this JSON file, it essentially is going to pull in the source. So even if you edit the sequence, it's still going to pull from the source. So if you have a different track in that position, it's going to overwrite it.
Right.
That's why I said you need to have the external track on the audio A5 location. Okay. So now what you can do is on the A5, select the A5 clip and then apply the JSON file. Great. Now you can basically delete the parts you don't want.
Okay.
And it should work just fine.
This is the part that I was noticing. So it's the same duration. And all it did, like all this beginning stuff is perfect. This is just the bug that I noticed. If you see, this is the end.
Yeah, they're like the end parts. So what happens with the Premiere Pro API is that they don't allow us to delete something reliably. So we just rely on your process of just selecting whatever you don't want and deleting it because the API doesn't allow us to do it. Come
over here and just do that. And then I was doing basically the same thing. I had like a separate sequence that I would do the footage in one and then the mic in the other, and then come back and combine them in here, because I don't need like these middle tracks and stuff. Just another thing I noticed, I don't know if this is a bug. Let's see. Let me open TimeBolt itself. Are you guys going to add the ability to, I don't know if this is going to work, like select a time code and then instead of doing padding in seconds, do padding in frames? What I wanted was like, since my time base is in 60 FPS, right? I wanted 1 frame in front and then like 3 frames in the back, just as like, that's what I found worked for me. Is there any option in the future that this is going to be in seconds or frames?
So what's happening is that your settings are all jacked. That's the problem. So what you need to do is, your settings are jacked. So go to the timeline and just scroll ahead. Yeah.
Let's see what your audio looks like.
Yeah, let's see what your frames look like.
That's the wrong file. Here, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the raw video file. My bad. I based it off of this. This is the mic.
So it's actually better in seconds, and we'll show you why. So
okay.
Go back to the timeline, and we can just like scroll ahead and see what your audio looks like. So see, you have a lot of space at the start of the clip. If you see like when a green section starts, you have a lot of dead space, which is still being detected as audio. But that's not really audio, right? You want to get rid of that. So what you do is you go to the filter below sound level settings in the silence detection. You change that value to -40, and then click on update silence detection. I think 40 is fine for now. Let's just see what happens, and then we can adjust it. See, now what happened is those values became much tighter because the green parts became much tighter. Now you can, so this value, right, this -40, the more negative you make it, -40, -35 in that range, -35 to 42 is going to be the perfect range. So if you scroll through your timeline now and you see your clips, right, they're much tighter. You wanted 3 frames ahead, 3 frames back. That's here. You have already got those tight edges. So your issue wasn't the padding. Your issue was the detection of the audio itself.
Usually I use it on the auto settings, which is that what it's guessing the floor is, like when you first import it?
I don't recommend using auto because auto takes the most average value. So even if it's automatically detecting it, you might not want the exact values. You want to usually, so everybody has a style, right? Some people have a style of like, they want really choppy cuts, like very quick cuts. Some people have more relaxed cuts. So I wouldn't recommend relying on the average, on the value that TimeBolt gives you, because that might not suit your style, right? Your style might be very fast or whatever. So I recommend playing around with this value, the filter below sound level value, because you can get the most control over it. So how tight you want your cuts to be, how relaxed you want your cuts. And then on top of this, you can build the padding section. So if you see padding, like if you have a right padding and left padding, those values are just like a secondary filter. You maybe want to use them. You don't want to rely on them too much. You want to rely on the filter below value because that's the most accurate part of yours. So even in Premiere Pro, if you see, your you're starting of the clip, it has a lot of dead space still, even though you time bolted it, right? And you don't want that because maybe your style is, I mean, you might want it because your style might be relaxed, but in most cases, you want it to be tighter as possible. And that -35 to -42 is the value you want to play in.
I also noticed in your timeline, if you go back to TimeBolt, if you open that back up, and you see these like these chunks like right at 1 minute, 2 seconds. Yeah, right there. Yeah, see that little thing right there? Is that important to you?
No, that's usually like a mouth pop or something.
So that's what ignore detection shorter than is for. You put that at 0.75. Okay, like it is the best optimal setting, and now all those are gone. So now you're cleaned up even further, right? And the other thing that I had a question about, like with Minecraft, one of the workflows that we made for gaming specifically is fast forward silences, so multi-track audio and fast forward silences. I didn't know if you used any of that or if you've ever played around with that. I get this fast forward doesn't export through the Premiere plugin, does it? It does through XML, but could he use it? No, he wouldn't be able to use XML. Okay, yeah. So, but what we did clean up the timeline. I also didn't know if you have a need for like any Umcheck, filler word removal, stuff like that. Is that something that you do?
I've messed around with some of those settings. It's just sometimes I leave certain things in on purpose. I actually use TimeBolt to get like 85% of the way there, instead of trying to do some settings that might take away some of the stuff that I still might want. And as you can see, I speak with a lot of ums anyway. So definitely want to keep some of those in.
Well, then I would also recommend that have you ever done anything inside TimeBolt, like removed scenes or anything like that?
I have not.
Is that something, like if you could do it faster in TimeBolt than you do in Premiere, is that something that you would want to do on a first pass in here? We've got very quick keys. Like if you, just to give you an example, see that preview playback rate right there, put it at 1.5x. Now when you click into the timeline, there you go, and just hit spacebar, it starts previewing at 1.5x. As you're going through, click the S key.
As I'm going through S, it might not be bound to something for me. Oh, it's playing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh,
it's removing and adding.
Yes, it basically you get Command Z if you wanted to keep that in. So you can remove large swaths of chunks of content this way. So as you're blazing through, you got to make sure you put that at 1.5x so it automatically defaults when you hit your playhead at 1.5x. Hit your spacebar. Now keep going, and you can hit the L key to speed up.
Premiere.
Punch, like L. Now imagine you're going through. You hit spacebar and you're like, shit, I just said the same thing over, or I really didn't need that last thing that I just listened to, right? So hit the spacebar, and when you do, let's now click B. See that? Cut back, right? So you don't have to stop and, hey, I actually, some of these things happen fast when you're previewing at 1.5x, right? So that means that you don't have to stop and click stop the playhead, then go back to where you're listening to. You just click the B key. So the best nomenclature I can have it is SLOP, SLOP BMx. Okay, it's BM, and those 5 quick keys, SLOP BM can have you editing faster than what you can do in Premiere. So that when you go into Premiere, it's more along the lines, what depth are you going to be adding?
Up and down keys to go to the next one. So up and down keys to go to the next clip, and shift up and down to go to the next green one.
Gotcha. I think, let me see what happens if I were to do that with the footage. Like, is there something that I'm doing that could be done better in terms of when I master the microphone audio? Because I do that on purpose and then run it through TimeBolt just because I feel like it helps detect it better, so that it's not as peaky when I'm loud and stuff. Like, so I apply my compressors.
Yeah, there is
like
that. If you go into settings, so if you click on the wrench or the circle thing over there is an option for, so if you see the first 3 options, it's audio pre-processing for better sound detection. So this doesn't affect the output, but it modifies the audio in a way where it helps TimeBolt detect the silence. So those 3 options you can select. So audio normalization, you can select those, volume increase. So they don't affect the output. So output is unaffected, but it helps TimeBolt detect like the silences or the peaks.
Yeah, if your audio is coming in flat, you have to restart the app. But if your audio is good already, you don't want to put that on it because it definitely exaggerates it more than necessary.
Yeah, I just to speed up the workflow, it'd be nice to see the footage, whereas I was using the exported mic.
Absolutely.
See how this looks.
Now with TimeBolt, if you're also looking at the footage, let's scroll down. Let's see your timeline. We're just looking at red right now.
I think you should turn off the auto detection. I think you should just turn it off. In the settings, you can just and put it at -40. The filter below value, put it at -40. Yeah, it'll be so much cleaner. I think you can do it even much lower. I think -35 maybe.
That's default -35.
Yeah, see, it just. So I think this audio is still pretty low. Yeah, you can select a different
or
track.
Maybe
I think it's the wrong track.
Oh, this is the game sound.
Yeah, there's something.
The mic's on 1. There we go.
Oh yeah, so this is much cleaner. See.
Now hit spacebar and you'll be able to hear that it sounds like a hollow echo, but that's not the way it's going to export.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is only for like detection type.
And you may
That's
not
really
even
handy.
need it for this. But now since you're actually having the footage in front of you, that's where the other key comes in. Hit P. Punch does export. Yes. And yes.
Gotcha.
So now you can punch. You can click the P key 3 times to cycle through, right? Boom, 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 boom. Now, if you click P twice and then do Alt Option and then your arrow keys.
What's that on Windows? Control Alt?
It's Alt key.
Okay.
And then your arrow key right in here. And this will export into Premiere. So your different punch values, if you want to accentuate something or draw the focus eye somewhere, that's how to do that.
Does it just use a transform effect in Premiere to do that?
Yeah, correct.
Gotcha. Let me try and think. I had a couple other questions. Looks like it fixed it over here. I don't know if this is going to make sense.
I think you should probably do it again because these detections are much cleaner. Yeah, just make sure your filter below values. So I don't think you should automatically set it to what TimeBolt detects because your audio is very, you have like large pieces of dead space, which makes the detection a little bit janky. So I think you should just put -35 or -40 and play with those ranges and see if the detections are like the way your artistic style is.
Questions about this. We just made one of our pillar workflows for gaming that just kind of reviews this. Here, I'll just copy this into the chat. That's actually the stuff that we had just reviewed is what's possible with using TimeBolt and some of the workflows that we think are unique for gaming content creators.
Great.
But you'll be able to see like the punch, the markers, if you end up needing to mark scenes, if you're creating shorts with your content. Do you do any of that stuff?
I haven't really dabbled with it quite yet.
It's just TimeBolt's just basically giving you an option when it comes to creating markers and shorts to be able to like whittle that down into by pressing M, it actually creates a marker on the scene, and you can then keep only marked cuts, and which allows you to create a highlight reel from one.
Gotcha.
Film.
I don't think. How do I view? I haven't used Zoom very much. Maybe the screen shares. There's the chat there. Gotcha.
This is all the keybinds are there. There aren't any more than this. If you want documentation, there is like, if you go into multi-file utilities, there's an option at the top of the file menu. If you go over there, there's something called multi-file utilities. So if you click on, if you want to know the site, edit.
Oh, sorry. Gotcha.
And then the help section, there is a bunch of stuff in the help section. Yeah, there's like reviews, documentation, and a new troubleshooting page that we just built.
Gotcha.
So if you want to know more or dig deep into exactly the features and stuff. And also one more thing is that if you see the question marks next to the feature, so if you go to timeline, there's a question mark next to the timeline, right? In the timeline tag. Yeah, so there's question marks and stuff. Each feature is explained in those videos.
Just real quick, for these padding settings, does the TimeBolt plugin or extension, does it snap it to the nearest frame? Because in the past,
yes, it does. Yeah.
Is that like a newer thing? Because when I first got it, it was like in between frames, and I had to like do some stuff to make it snap to the frame.
No,
that's why I was asking.
It does snap because it does do it in seconds, but when it converts it to like the JSON thing, when you apply it inside the timeline, it has to snap at the frame because it can't be a second, because you can't have like half a frame. You have to have like in the sequence in that frame. So it does snap it at the frame.
Well, that was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thanks for choosing TimeBolt, Jared.
Yeah, of course.
If you have any other questions, thank you.
Sure. You guys take care.
You too.
Awesome. Take care. Bye-bye.
That does it for TimeBolt office hours on July 27, 2023. If you like the content, please don't forget to hit subscribe, the like button, and notification bell. And we're out of time. Thank you very much.